Hey YouTube, how's it going? It's Quentin here and welcome to tutorial number 21, and in this tutorial I'm going to talk to you guys about some child selectors in HTML and CSS. So in the previous tutorial we looked at how to identify elements more uniquely by using a class or an ID, and sometimes you might want to leverage a little bit more power in CSS where you'll have a div and you might give this div a class of something like red text, and you'll put a few paragraphs in here. So let's just say this is a paragraph, and we can duplicate that a bunch of times. I'm not sure if I hit Command Alt D, no, or Command D, Command Shift D. There we go. Okay, Command Shift D. Duplicate that line a few times, and now we have paragraphs within a div that has a class of red text, but we might also have a few paragraphs outside of that div, right? So now we can use a child selector to select only these paragraphs, right? So let's jump back over to the browser, hit refresh, let's see what this looks like. So right now it's a bunch of unstyled paragraphs. And I'll just zoom in, make that a little bit bigger for you to see. What I'd like to do now is style those using a child selector. So we know normally if we wanted to style a paragraph, I might come here, select that paragraph with its element, and then type in color red, right? But what that'll do is it'll change every single paragraph, even the paragraphs outside of the div red. And so let's just actually add that in here just so we can see more clearly which ones are outside the div, although I mean we should all know it's the bottom three. Okay, so save that. We can see these ones that are outside of the div still display red because we've selected all of them by paragraph, right? But instead what we could do is come back here and look for all divs or all paragraphs within a div. So let's do this. I'll type in div, then I'll add a space, and then I'll add a paragraph tag. So maybe just zoom in a little bit here. But basically what the space does is tell CSS, hey, listen up. We're looking for divs, and then anything inside of that div that is actually a paragraph, we want to style all of those red. So let's save here and come back and hit refresh, and now you can see these three divs. I think I might have zoomed in a little bit too much there, but these three paragraphs that are inside of the div all got styled red, whereas the three that are not inside of a div got no styling whatsoever, so they're still black, right? But let's say, for instance, I have another div on the page, but this one has a different class of something like blue text. And let me end that off and go ahead and copy these and paste them in here. Right, now I've got red text, which I want to be red, but I've got these ones at the bottom here which I would actually like them to be blue, but because of my styling rule, div space paragraph, selecting all paragraphs within a div, now all of these are red, right? So instead of selecting by element, we can select by class as well. So in this case I'll take any div or anything that is in a class of red text. So any paragraph that has a parent with a class of red text, we want to turn that red, right? But any paragraph with a class of blue text, let's change that blue, right? So let's come back here and hit refresh, and now you can see we've got red paragraphs and we've got blue paragraphs because we're using or we're selecting by class of the parent, right? So in this case, the parent happens to be a div with a class of blue text, but I could even change this div to something I don't want to say a paragraph. I could change it to another element. Let's just call it an article maybe, or a section. It doesn't actually matter what element we use here because we're selecting by class. So let's come back here and refresh. You see we've got the same result, right? But in some cases, you might even want to get a little bit more complicated with this, or a little bit more strict with this, and say, hey, you know what, listen up. I only want divs with a class of blue text to have blue paragraphs. So if this is an article with blue text, I don't want, or an article with a class of blue text, I don't want those paragraphs to turn blue. And so what you can do is specify div, and then don't leave any space, but just select the class by adding that full stop and saying, okay, now only divs with this class, or only paragraphs who have a parent of a div with the class of blue text should turn blue, right? Let's come back here and hit refresh. And you can see that now this has lost its styling because if we take a look at this again in the code, this is an article with a class of blue text, right? So if we change this back to div and save this and come back over to the browser and hit refresh, now we've got these paragraphs displaying blue again because we're looking for paragraphs within the div that has a class of blue text. So that's quite powerful if you think about it. When you have quite a large number of elements that you want to style, but you want to get really strict, and you want only one element with the class to be styled, or only one element with a class that has paragraphs inside it, and you only want those paragraphs to be styled. And yeah, I know this was a very simple example, but it is a lot more powerful. I just want to send a shout out to my sponsors at Dev Mountain. They run a coding bootcamp with courses on iOS development, UX design, and web development, and they'll teach you everything you need to know to get a job within this field, and they'll do it within 12 weeks. So check out their website, the link is in the description below, and if you do contact them, make sure to tell them that I sent you. Special thanks to the guys whose names are on screen now. These guys contribute $5 or more on Patreon, and I really appreciate that. While you're still here, there are a few other things that you can do to help out, so follow me on social media and check out some more of my content, and I'll see you guys next time.